stream is live. It'll be up online in about 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, so these objects that we're going to be dealing with next are just over the page here onto 92 and 93. Just a few more notes about how these things are going to be dimensioned on exterior features. Most of it we've covered already, but just swatting away a wasp there. Again, try and make sure your dimensions are to the outside of the object. Dimensions on the inside here, you can see they're between the center lines for the object. So we've got 60 to the center line of the hole, plus we've got another 30 to the radius to the outside of the object. So it'll be another 60. So this thing is 120 millimeters long. So there's no need to dimension an overall length for this thing. So you'll want to avoid that because that's typically not good practice. So if we were looking at this object here, it's okay to run a dimension to the outside of that because it's got square ends. If one end was rounded, then this overall dimension would be from the square end to the center line of the circle, like you see here. So here you can see that this thing is dimensioned to the center line, and then the fabricator, when they're figuring out the total size of steel that they're needing to cut out to build this thing, they would add that little piece on the end. Okay, so then just some more notes about putting in those bolt circles. I just need to erase some other people's pencil marks here. Oh boy, those aren't going to come off. Actually, that's pen. So again, bolt circles, just make sure that here where you've got 4 lines that are dashing, that they intersect nicely at the middle, and then you get that sort of little dashing in both directions here. So the bolt circle dashes as it passes through the hole, and it's a bit of an arc that's here, not a straight line. That's in the same radius as our bolt circle elsewhere. And then you have your one radial ray that emanates out from the center of the circle. Okay, so let's look at the 4 objects that are being required here. So we've got the drive coupling, this one here, and I'm just going to erase some of this extra stuff because I want you to be able to see it. So I'll just get this up here so that you can see it clearly. I think what I'll do is I'll also put the pictures of these 4 objects into the ADT1 channel as well, just some still pictures. So there's the drive coupling. That's one of the objects that we're going to be doing. Then the drive plate, which is this one right here. Now you can see that there is a portion of it that is cut away. So we're not going to be drawing that. So there's a bit of a, oh no, you know what? This is the one where, okay, this one has been shown cut away, but we're not going to be cutting away this bit in the center. So I will note that in the ADT1 channel as well. So then the other object here, the timing lever, and also the pillow block. So these are going to be a little bit more tricky features to draft up. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to start drafting up the pillow block, and then we'll talk about some of the strategies. And it's going to be very similar to that V block that we did earlier, where it made sense to draw the front view of it first, so then you could start drawing up some of the other stuff. So I'll just go grab a piece of paper here, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I am, like I said, I'm going to start with the pillow block because that's kind of the toughest one. So I'm just going to get myself some space here. Seems like the air is maybe clearing up a little bit here. I'm getting my view from the back deck. So So I am going to go through this pillow block one with pretty good speed. I would say just watch along in the stream. Ask any questions that you've got as we go here. Just so that I want to get you folks kind of rolling as quickly as possible so that you only need to come back to this stream for reference, because it's kind of boring for you folks to be able to, or when you just have to, you know, watch this stream and then trying to getting some drafting done as well. Okay, so I'm just got to go back and confirm the scale that I'm working at here with this one. Okay, so the pillow block says scale of 1 to 2. I'm just going to confirm that 7979. Let's see here. They're suggesting in the textbook that it should be drawn at 1 to 1, but this thing would be 108th, would be about 210 millimeters if it was drawn full size. That is pretty big. So keep in mind then that with the pillow block, we're going to be drawing this thing at 1 to 2, just to help fit it out on the sheet. Now, I'm not going to worry exactly here about the sheet layout. I just want to get kind of some geometry down here so that we can talk about the strategies necessary to lay this thing out, because there are some tricky aspects of it because of the curves. Okay, I'm just pulling up my calculator here so I can do the calculation on how long this thing is. So 2 times 79.4 plus 70. Okay, so 228.8, so I'll say 229. So just going to make a little note here. So 229. And then width-wise, it says 35 is the radius. So, of course, the diameter is 70. So it's going to be 229 by 70. So let me get a piece of trace paper here, and we'll just talk about the strategy for laying this thing out on the sheet. Okay, so based on the shape of this thing, so I'll just get it into the camera view here. So there it is. So based on the shape of this thing, we've got to kind of decide what our top, front, and side views are going to look like. And in some respects, this is actually a deceptively simple looking object when you begin to lay it out. But getting into this curve, as we're going to see, is going to be tricky. So there's our top view of this thing. Here's our front view of this thing. Now we're getting a bit of a breeze now here. The perils of drawing outdoors. And then here is our side view. Now we've got hole in this thing. And so we're going to be able to transfer some of this information up, and there's going to be hidden lines that are going to be coming into play here. And so it makes sense to draw the front view of this thing first, because that's going to help us draw the other views. So get that front view drawn first. Now I'm going to look at this situation here because there's something tricky about this, and you guys can see here that there is a you've got these 60-degree angles here and here. So there's a portion of this that goes up at 65 degrees, and then we've got some fillets here, and then we've got a radius over the top. So I want to lay this thing out. So first of all, front, we're going to be doing that number one, and then we're going to start working on developing the other views. A few things to keep in mind. These are all curves when we look at the front of this thing. So when we look at the top view, we are not going to see any of those curves translated up. This is basically a completely smooth. So when you're looking at this from the top view, you wouldn't even know that this part here pops up. But what are you going to see? Well, we've got these four corners from this angled slot on the bottom. So that means that we are going to see four hidden lines from that. And you'll need to draw that in. Then we're going to have the hidden lines on each radius of the circle. So circles, when we're cutting through them, we see the hidden lines for that. Now also we're going to need the center line for all of our circles. So we will have a center line here in the front view, like so. And that center line, we will extend that upwards here as well. Now, these center lines for the holes on the sides need not extend out beyond the object. So here you can see they're just quite small inside the drawing here, and that would be considered acceptable. However, the center line for this hole does need to extend out beyond the object because it goes right through. So the center lines for the holes in the side can also extend out beyond the object if you wish, or if you prefer, you can just have a smaller little center line symbol that just indicates where that hole is. Now, down below here, we are going to need those dashed lines for the holes. And we're going to need the center lines for them as well. And they need to extend out above and below the object. So these are the kinds of graphics that we are going to be expecting to be seeing. Then when we're looking at the side view, we need to transfer our hidden line over here because of this slot. Then our center line over for the horizontal hole. Then our hidden lines for the hole. And then we've got our vertical lines here as well for the vertical holes that are in the bottom part of the plate. So these need to be shown in here as well as the center line for that hole. So in a nutshell, that's kind of graphically what you should be expecting to see for this object. So that kind of gives a little bit of a spoiler on what the finished product should look like for this view. So now let's drop this front view so we can try and get it sorted out for you guys. Okay, so I've got to do 229 here. So I've done the math, 79.4 times 2 plus 70, so 35 plus 2, so 70 plus this business gets me about 229. So I'm going to grab 1 to 2 here, and I'm just going to lay this out here quickly. Okay, so there's the beginning, and there is about 229. Okay, so I'm gonna lay that out. So there's my baseline. And now, how do I figure out what the height of this thing is? Well, we've got a dimension right here, 54, plus we've got 38. So just by adding 54 and 38 together, that gives me 92. All right, so let's get it going here. 1 to 2. So there's 80, 90, 92, 94, 96, 98. So there's 92 right there. Okay, so now I'll put my vertical in here for the end of this thing, and I'm going to project that line up, and so this is going to be my edge line for everything that I'm drafting up now. Okay, so next part here, need to draw the 38 thickness for the bottom plate. When you don't have enough room on your page. Okay, so there's 0, there's 40, there's 38 right there. Draw that across. Get the other end of the 229 here, which I forgot to draw up. Okay, so we've got this thing blocked out. Now what we need to do is, let's get the center line located for our hole. So it's 54 up. So there's 50, there's 52, there's 54 right there. 40, 50, 52, 54. And now half of 229, so I'm at 230. So 115 and a half. Whoa, what am I doing here? I just drew my line there in the wrong place. These are just construction lines, so it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to come back and put the heavy lines on later. All right, so 230, so I need 115 to find my center line from the one end. So there's 115 and a half. So there's 110, 115. So there's 116. So 115 and a half. So that's my center line of my circle right there. So now we have R38 for the curve from this point. So I will grab my compass here. And now I don't actually have to measure. This should be 38 from here to the top. So I can just do a little confirmation on this and make sure that it is in fact 38, and it is bang on. So I can take my compass and very carefully make sure I get that point exactly. Then roll my compass out until I get to the top of my box here, and I'll just faintly draw in an arc. That's just so I've got a bit of a starting point. Now, this thing says that we've got a 60-degree angle for this piece at the bottom, but it also, the leader there, you can see it points upwards. So it indicates that there's a 60 here as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're finding the tangent. So you can use your 30-degree triangle. And we're going to look for where, and I need to draw, draw a little bit more curve here. So this is just a construction line. And I'm looking at my my triangle here to see where I am coming to the tangent of that curve. So this is a bit of a tricky business. And once I can see where my that the tangent would be, just draw a little construction line here, flip the triangle over and do it on the other side. There we go. Now, this line isn't going to be very long. This little straight section here is just going to come down, and then it's going to hit this fillet. Now, what is our fillet? Well, you can see here, the fillets are a radius of 20. So that means, I'm going to go back and grab my drafting ruler here. So there's 20 right there. And just like we've done earlier, we've got to draw those construction lines to bring this together. Okay, so there's that one construction line. And then here comes the next one. Okay, so where those two intersect, now we're going to draw our 20 millimeter radius with the compass. Now it's going to be really important that you get this intersection bang on. There we go. Yeah. It's in the text. It says fillets are 20 just above it there, if you have the textbook. It says it, yeah. No, it's right there. Yeah, all good. I think I got my curve here a little bit off, so I'm just going to redraw it. And also, too, you want to make sure that the lead is at exactly the same height as the steel point, and I don't quite have that here. So that'll help. Now, if things start going south on you here when you're drawing up the curve, just feel free to erase it because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing here. Construction lines, so keep them nice and faint. And then once you're happy with how everything's coming together, you can come in with the big guns later and lay down the big curves. So same thing on the other side here. I need to do a 20 millimeter offset. See, you can tell I dropped my pencil. It's actually busted on the end, so I'm just being really careful so I can get the point of the thing. There we go. And now we do the radius on the other side. Oh, that's not the right spot. There we go. Ugh. There we go. There. So you can see it's actually, this is looking pretty good. Let me see here. No, it's time to lower the camera down so you guys can see. Oh, come on. The moisture out in this thing overnight makes it more difficult. Okay, let's see if the phone's gonna autofocus here. Put a pencil in here, see if it's got something to look at so it sharpens things up. There we go. So hopefully that shows you guys kind of the shape that we're going to be looking at here for developing that that pillow block. So I'm going to kill the stream here. And I'm going to take some good pictures of these bits and pieces here for those of you folks who don't have the textbook. And I'll be out here on Discord just for any questions you've got.